Hello, everyone. My name's Jorge Diaz. I'm president and founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing, and this is an episode of How Do You Describe Infusionsoft Success? This week, I'm here with Micky. Micky, I'm drawing a total blank.
Hello there.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you went dark all of a sudden.
Yeah,
And,
sorry about that.
He'll introduce us in a little bit, but we met via LinkedIn a couple of months ago at the beginning of the fall, and they are accountants. So we're going to be talking about a new integration that Infusionsoft has with Xero and Quickbooks, and that's kind of their space. But he kind of fills in a gap that a lot of the other, I guess, Infusionsoft providers do not. I mean, honestly, I haven't met another group that does what you guys do. So, Micky, why don't you introduce yourself, introduce Kahuna, and exactly where you guys fit into the formula?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for bringing me on. I'm glad we got to meet in person just a couple of weeks ago, so that was a lot of fun. So Kahuna Accounting does bookkeeping for entrepreneurs. So I know this is the series Infusionsoft Success, and we have brought on over 200 entrepreneurs over the last couple of years, and we've seen everything in terms of accounting. And we know that this is something that's not all that exciting or fun to deal with. Sometimes it's scary. But when you talk about success as an entrepreneur, you can't really separate that from your financials. That's a lot of times really the scoreboard that determines success. And so that's really what we've been doing. And we use Infusionsoft for our own business. And so it was just kind of a natural fit when Infusionsoft started pursuing the accounting world that we wanted to be ahead of this, and we wanted to be the leaders in making it smooth and work and to help the users see a full picture with their accounting.
Okay, so you guys, you guys are CPAs, and I know even before you guys, met Infusionsoft and figured that part out, you guys were doing small business owners' books.
Mm-hmm.
So you were helping them set up a chart of accounts, helping them with their tax issues, all that stuff, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so in comes Infusionsoft, and I guess you guys started using it yourself as just a user, correct, to market yourself?
Yeah, exactly. And the main reason there was the ability to educate. I know Infusionsoft's so good with the lifecycle marketing.
Sure.
For us, that was really important because I think with accounting, there's an education component. A lot of people don't really know what the options are that are out there, so we knew that was a huge need for us, and Infusionsoft has made that very, very possible just with different white papers, webinars, things like that, automating some of that process, because it's not a one and done deal with your accounting. There's a trust factor, there's an education factor, and so Infusionsoft was huge for us.
Right. So it's actually interesting because it's similar to me as I found Infusionsoft. As a matter of fact, now in December, my application just turns 5 years old.
Wow.
And I was using it both to market for myself, market for my clients. I come out of the web development space. We've been doing Infusionsoft 3.5, 4 years. But I wasn't thinking I'd become an Infusionsoft consultant. I was just thinking, hey, this is a great tool. For example, we would run events, and it was just a great way to do the invitations, to do the follow-up sequences and reminders. And it was only later that we decided to do that. And so you guys kind of followed that same sort of path, right?
Yep, exactly. So we were using it ourselves, and like you said, we were serving entrepreneurs all over the country, doing their bookkeeping day-to-day, using a cloud tool. It's interesting. We use Xero, and even when we started, we're like, Xero is like the Infusionsoft of accounting. Like there's so much automation. It's cloud-based. It's simple enough to use, but it's robust.
Right. And what you were telling me is that they were really out there in that cloud space before QuickBooks really kind of grew up and did it the way they're doing it now.
Yeah,
right?
Xero actually started in the cloud. There was never a desktop version. It started, I believe, in 2006 in the cloud right from the start in New Zealand, and then it kind of destroyed the market in New Zealand, Australia, and just came over to the U.S. in 2011 to be really the big competitor for QuickBooks, and it's growing a lot really fast. We've loved it, and really the main thing is not just the functionality, but being cloud-based allows for collaboration that wasn't even an option. 10 years ago, there's no way you in Florida and us in Illinois that we'd be able to even think about doing your books. That would make no sense. You'd have to drive it over to someone's office, drop off your shoebox or whatever you have. Now with Xero in the cloud, we can do stuff like that, and it's really, you can even do it paperless, which you think of bookkeeping, you think of receipts and you think of paper, but it doesn't even have to be that way.
No, and it's funny because, I mean, my question to you at the very beginning was, well, why Xero? That's just not the big player in the market, but they were the player, and it was probably the only way you could have done it back then, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, when we started, it's actually a long story. Our founder, strangely enough, is not even an accountant. He's an entrepreneur. He's grown his own businesses, had a lot of success. But as an entrepreneur, he was always frustrated with accounting. He couldn't get ahead of it. He didn't know if he was winning or losing. He didn't know where he stood day to day, week to week. He couldn't get a loan, and it frustrated him. And so he got to the point where he invested in an accounting staff. He's like, I have to get this right. And so he got a CFO, he got a controller, he got an accountant. He spent a lot of money because he was like, I need this off my plate. I need to know where I stand and not be in it day to day. And so that's the team he built. And then when he sold out of that business, he kept that team and said, if that worked so well for me and helped me so much, how important will that be for other entrepreneurs? And what if we could provide that same service to them? And so in 2012 is when we decided to launch Kahuna Accounting. So this team had been together, and we said, what if we do it for people out of the country? And we started looking around. Xero really stood out as something. We wanted something that was collaborative, that made it easy. Xero doesn't charge for extra seats. You know, it's you get unlimited users, and so we're like, this is what we need. You know, we want it to be collaborative. We want it to be a team approach, and so that's where it worked. And really, Xero built themselves up as we're going to do accounting really, really well, and not really try to be all things to all people. And so they would integrate with a lot of other apps. Like there's over 300 apps that integrate with Xero. So people that do invoicing, people that do payroll, so that they could be specialized and really understanding they were ahead of the time with the cloud space of things need to integrate with each other because there's going to be a lot of specialized things. And so now this Infusionsoft connection is just kind of the next natural progression in everything.
Okay, so let's back up. We're summertime before this new release came out. So, and you were telling me that this wasn't like super smooth because the integration didn't exist with Infusionsoft. So how would you guys, I guess, overcome or deal with that?
Yeah, well, really, to do what we do, all we need is the detail of the transaction. So what Xero does is it connects to your bank feeds. So no money is flowing through Xero, but every transaction that happens in your bank and your credit card is recorded inside Xero. So all those transactions are there. Those transactions just need a home. And so what we need from Infusionsoft, most people are creating orders in Infusionsoft, creating invoices in Infusionsoft. Those just need to make their way into Xero. And so really for the clients, like we work with a lot of Infusionsoft clients because we understand the system. For them, it doesn't make a huge difference because they would just get them to us and we'd get them in. For us, it saves a ton of time. So now what happens is the orders created in Infusionsoft can be pulled over into Xero. And so when it sees that money in the bank, it sees the order from Infusionsoft, those things are already matched up from Xero. It's just one step of automation that wasn't there before that required a manual step.
So you, in the past, you download the CSV file or something and
exactly.
you upload it, right?
Yep. It was just one more manual step that is now eliminated.
Okay. And then I think sometime in the springtime they're adding the Quicken update, right?
Yeah, I think that's coming soon, and it'll be a similar idea. I think probably one practical thing that's really important to the users is that when you have an invoice created in Infusionsoft, most people get paid as soon as the invoice is created. Right. Like if you have a product that's $97, they pay that, invoice is created, that matches out. Right. Well, where that doesn't work is when the card fails. And so a lot of people go into Infusionsoft and they see all these invoices, then they have to do a second check into their bank, like where are all these payments? That's a very painful manual process. Sure. With Xero, it kind of pulls it together, checks between your invoices in Infusionsoft, the transactions hitting the bank, and if everything missed, then you can see that. You can see it right there when you're like, there's something missing here, and you can dig that out.
Gotcha. No, and by the way, you know, I have run into. I remember I told you I was going to talk to this one guy, and as a matter of fact, afterwards remind me because I want to talk to you about this guy. There was a reason why he didn't think he could use because he has so many transactions. Just reconciling things is just a total nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, and the way merchant account money gets put into your bank. But that's the space that you guys are in, right?
Yeah, and that's probably the most important message here because at the conference we were at, a lot of people were asking me like, QuickBooks or Xero, what should I use? And my answer is usually like, it doesn't really matter. For an entrepreneur, the goal is to get these things done. And ultimately, if you're an entrepreneur and you're serious about growing your business, you want to get to the point where you're not in this day to day. So if it's a bunch of transactions, a bunch of reconciliations, is that the best use of your time as an entrepreneur? You know, your time is worth a lot. You need to be out selling. You need to be investing in your product. You need to be investing in people. So what we encourage people to do, and it's not just a pitch like, oh, hire Kahuna Accounting. It's find a professional who can do these things day in, day out, and who you trust. And then for you as an entrepreneur, your interaction with the accounting system needs to really just be coming in every month and seeing the reports that are there, seeing your dashboard and what's going on. You don't need to be reconciling transactions day in, day out. Now, I understand when you're getting started, that's part of it. You know, you don't have the ability to outsource from day one. And entrepreneurs wear a million hats. That's just what happens. But as soon as you have the ability to outsource or to bring on a professional to take on that accounting role, I think it's super important because you have a level of just a peace of mind and control over your business, ability to make decisions looking forward instead of looking backwards.
No, right. And it's kind of like getting those KPIs, you know, the performance indicators that I can use to run my business as opposed to, oh, this transaction doesn't reconcile.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that day-to-day stuff is not all that valuable for you as an entrepreneur. Now, what is valuable, though, is when you're thinking an opportunity has come up, or I want to hire this person, but I don't really know if I can pull the trigger on that because I can't see, all I have financially is just a mess looking backwards. If you can actually look forwards and have real-time information, that can be really, really powerful for growing your business. And as an entrepreneur, you want to be in that position of, having your finger on the pulse, but not being so much in the day-to-day.
Yeah. So now, are you an accountant?
I'm not, so I talk about it a lot. And it's fun because I get to have this perspective where I kind of translate from our accounting team to the entrepreneurs who I talk to every day, because I can't imagine how many, probably 500 entrepreneurs I've talked to in the last couple of years who are wrestling with these things, and I hear these common pains, common struggles, and so it's kind of my role to connect those pains and struggles to the things that our team can do. And it's funny because I think a lot of times it's fear-based. Like entrepreneurs come and they're scared to face the reality, or they're scared to dig into what's really there, and they're embarrassed. Like I've even had people say that, like, oh, I want to get this cleaned up, but I'm embarrassed to let someone see this, and I get that. Like it is not fun to admit, like, I haven't really taken this seriously, or I haven't put much into it, but that's kind of a hump that you have to get over if you really want to invest in your business and take it to the next level. So not an accountant, but I feel like it's kind of fun to be on the outside of that, so I can just ask those simple questions that bring out the real answers.
Right, and I tell you what, interestingly, because of the nature of your business, it's that recurring, not necessarily passive, but it's a recurring service. So you have what I think all of us want as a business model, something where you can, assuming you can keep your churn down to a minimum, you can kind of grow your business. I noticed early on you said we service 200 businesses, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. It is a great model. We do flat monthly billing, and really getting into Infusionsoft for marketing has been a nice shift, because we see the people that are using Infusionsoft are people who are invested in their business, committed to growth. They really take it seriously. You say like that it's a great model, but there's some pain in it as well. With accounting, you get plenty of people this time of year, especially where we're in December, who are saying, "Yeah, can you clean up my entire year that I haven't done anything, and I want to get it all set for tax season?" And you have conversations like that. And so we run into the same thing that marketing companies run into, where you get bad clients, and you have to figure out how to best weed those out and get the best fits. And so that's really where we've focused on that Infusionsoft ecosystem, because we see just kind of there's an ecosystem there where people take their business seriously. They want to do good. They want to make an impact. A lot of the people.
So would you say then that Infusionsoft is a good qualifier for a customer for you, like an Infusionsoft user versus not?
I think so, because what we found to be not a good client are people who are desperately pinching pennies, people who don't understand the value of automation. So what we're doing is essentially automating everything on the accounting side. and we're freeing up the entrepreneur to do things that have high impact. So that's the same message that Infusionsoft is saying, but just with a different end result. So we've seen that as a really big one. And the people that don't work well are people that just, their goal is just kind of like this static incremental improvement. Like, I just want to suck a little less this year than I did last year. If that's your aspirations, then we're probably not a good fit, because we're looking for people that are trying to grow. And when you're really trying to grow, you see the value in what we provide, because you see you have better decision making, you have just a finger on the pulse, and you can understand and start looking forward. And we have clients that are growing who just love it. Like, it's an amazing relationship. So we see Infusionsoft as a way to find people that are more in that realm to work with us.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I want to say, like I said, my application is 5 years old. 3.5 years ago is when I decided we're going to put a lot of emphasis on Infusionsoft, consulting services in conjunction with websites, because you really can't do much with Infusionsoft without having your website, well understood. Yeah. And I did find that just someone who baseline is spending, $200 to $300 a month on a marketing tool, which isn't a huge investment when you really get down to it, but just that their mentality is that's okay, versus, the guy that's saying, well, how do I keep my constant contact payment under $50? Right. That alone tells you a lot about the business.
Yep, exactly. And it's fun to make that shift, because I think we all go through a stage where people will negotiate and they'll say, oh, how can I get this less? How can I get the less? You want to get the client so bad, and then you finally get to a point where you realize, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to chase people. And if they start to say, how can I save a couple bucks? Then you say, what? It's probably not a good fit. There's plenty of commodity level type services you can find if you want something that is about growth and about taking things seriously. And I think, you do that, and a lot of people that are helping with Infusionsoft do that. Like, if you really want to grow, then come work with us. If you're just kind of wanting the cheapest option, then this is probably not a good fit. And it's fun to be able to say that.
Yeah, I've got my wife here needed to get stuff. She's trying to stay off camera.
That's okay.
Good. Well, gosh, that's interesting. And I did not expect this to be, when we first started talking back in the fall, this is not what I expected you guys were doing.
Yeah, that's been an interesting conversation that a lot of times we will share this with people, and they'll say, I didn't even know that was an option. And so that's something that we are really trying to be intentional about, is understand that bookkeeping doesn't have to be the way it is for most people. Where for most people, what it is I tried to get it set up in a system which involves either QuickBooks or spreadsheets, and what I do with that is just collect a whole bunch of data. And it's not really organized, it doesn't really tell me anything, but I'm collecting it. And then every month or every quarter, or sometimes even every year, I take all that information and I give it to a CPA. And what that CPA does is just basically sort through it, get it to a point where it's passable, and then they get you a tax return. And that's accounting.
It's a tax effort. It's not how do I build my business? How do I increase my profitability?
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a necessary evil. Like, I have to get this done so that, I can get this guy off my back trying to get my taxes in. And I have to file an extension, and then I do it later. And that's a painful process. And so even if you're not at a point where your numbers are telling you a better story about your business and you're able to make better decisions, that's just a painful process to go through anyway. It's like, do you want to have all that back and forth with the CPA, or do you want to, say, invite them into, your cloud-based accounting system? They come in, pull the reports that they need, and then it's done. And your commitment level in that is, less than an hour.
No, right.
Like, most people don't even know.
Your job is just to make sure that the transactions are being recorded properly.
Yep, day-to-day work, getting it all together. We provide monthly financial reports, profit and loss, balance sheet, everything a CPA needs. Real-time information that allows you to look forward. But at the end of the year, everything's done. And so, when you have that,
doing your taxes is like an afterthought, right?
Right. It's done. The best part too is a lot of CPAs want to provide advice. So CPAs can tell you a lot of things to where you can, save on taxes. You can, categorize things a certain way that make a big difference. But they can't do any advising if your numbers are junk. If your numbers are junk, all they're going to do is tell you how to change your entries in QuickBooks so that they can do their job at the end of the year.
Right.
Whereas if you can actually, have clean numbers, they're able to provide meaningful advice. That's what I always tell people is like between tracking down unpaid invoices and you're saving time on your hourly cost of your CPA and taxes, and through getting real advice from a CPA on savings, you'll probably spend less money in the year if you use us than you would if you didn't.
Cool. Well, Micky, I really appreciate your time on here. You've shared some advice that actually, I had my accountant calling me last week, so I've got to do my stuff too. But interesting. Just kind of give information how people can reach you. We'll be publishing this along with the video on our blog, but that way people have it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Most people don't want to talk about accounting, so I'm thankful that we got to do it. You can find out more at kahunaaccounting.com. So Kahuna is Kahuna. Even though we're the big Kahuna with the big wave, we're located in central Illinois, where there's a bunch of wind and rain and snow. It's pretty ugly, but we have fun with that name.
Right?
Yeah, so you can check us out there. We have some stuff going on around the first of the year because we know that's a great time for people to either get cleaned up from last year or have a fresh, clean start for 2016. So now's a great time to reach out. We'd be happy to even just chat and find out where business owners are at and how we can help and point them in the right direction.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Micky, and with that, we'll say goodbye.
All right, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Okay.